Hello everybody and welcome to episode 2 of Dear Jill. I am so happy to be here, and can I just say thank you so much to everybody that's left their voice notes. I'm so thrilled that where you've been reaching out and opening up and just being really, really honest. It's what this podcast is all about, and literally couldn't do it without you, so thank you so much. Emma, how are you?
Hello, very well, Jill. We're back.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
We're back. How are you doing? Are you all right?
Very good, thank you. What's been going on with your world?
Well, I spoke to you a little while ago about just feeling a bit like being in my comfort zone. And actually, this podcast is definitely not in my comfort zone. So I definitely think I've done something about that there. But I was listening to Reverend Richard Coles as well last night on I'm a Celebrity. And he was giving a little sermon to the celebrities.
Okay.
And he was talking about the disciples being in a storm and in this boat. And, Jesus was saying, you got to get out the boat. And they were like, well, we can't get out the boat. Look at the sea. Look, it's raging. It's windy. It's wild. And he's like, get out the boat, get out the boat, get out the boat. Basically, get out your comfort zone. You got to step out. You've got to go into the storm and you've just got to see what's there. So all of that to say, at the weekend, I did something that I'd never done before that was inspired in part, I have to say, by Scarlett Moffat.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd seen her on her Instagram and she just said that. I didn't know anything. I don't know Scarlett, and I know we're from the same area ish, but I don't know her. But she'd been saying that she used to dance when she was a little girl. And then as you do, you sort of give these hobbies up and different things happen and life goes on. And she always thought, I just want to go back to dancing. But she was really famous and she thought, I feel a bit out of shape, whatever. Am I going to go back and not be able to do it? Anyway, long story short, she just did it. She just went back and she started dancing again. And she was like, it's the best thing she's done in a long time. And I thought, you know what? It's been a while since I've done something that I didn't already know I could do or that I was, used to. And I'd seen this class being advertised very, very close to where I live. And it said it was tango pole.
Right.
And I thought, that sounds fun. And then I was like, oh no, but then if I go there, will people be like, well, you'll be able to do it because you did Strictly, that kind of stuff. And then I'll be all embarrassed and then I get really awkward. I know, I don't know if I come across shy or not, but I can be very, very shy. So I thought about it and I just thought, what, man? Just get out the boat.
Get out the boat, Jill.
Get out the boat. So I booked the class and I went along on Saturday and it was the friendliest, loveliest group of women. There was only 5 of us. We ranged in age from about 30 to 70 and we just were taught this gorgeous little tango dance, and it was as if the pole was your partner. That was kind of the way you kind of worked it. So you were sort of tangoing around the pole and then doing little spins and stuff, and it was so much fun. And at first you sort of get on the pole and it feels awkward and you feel like you're just pulling yourself, I've just got to get on this pole. And you just think, oh, that's so unnatural and not graceful. And then she says, oh, just wait till I unlock the poles. I was like, what do you mean unlock the poles? She was like, well, at the minute that they're sort of, they don't move. She said, but when I unlock them, they will spin when you spin. Well, that was it. I was just like, woo! But it was so nice. And at the end of the class, it was just lovely. And I just thought, you know what? It's just not often anymore that I do something for enjoyment. When I go to the gym, I do enjoy working out. But to be fair, I'm kind of working out. And I'm also, trying to look after my head. When I, go for walks and stuff, you're trying to get your steps in and all that. I just want to start doing things in my life totally for the enjoyment, not because I'm going to use it in any way, not because it's going to become useful or because I want to be brilliant at it. I just want to do stuff because it felt good and I enjoyed it. And that's how I felt when I left the class. It was just really lovely. And it was in a room at the top of a church. So you're like surrounded by all this stained glass window. meeting these new people, and it was just an hour of me not overthinking.
Doing it for you as well.
Yeah, basically. And just like, that lovely feeling, like, I don't know about you, but my brain does kind of chatter quite a lot. And especially even when you're doing something that's challenging, if you've done it before, you learn how to do it and still have a bit of chatter. But when you're doing something brand new, you're so present. And it was like, that's the thing, isn't it? When it's new and it's novelty, you are just so in it. And I thought, I miss this feeling of just doing something where all my brain can think about is this thing. And it felt like, even though it was hard work, it felt relaxing. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm pleased that you've done something.
Thank you. I'm going again. I booked in straight away because I'm like, this is not going to be a one-off. I'm not going to do that thing where I go, oh yeah, I did something. It was great. I'm not doing it again. I booked in again. I was like, you are going to do something for yourself like this. And you're going to continue to do things like that where you're out of your comfort zone. It's completely different. And you're not doing it to like acquire a skill for a job or, to go forward or to earn money or whatever. It's just total enjoyment.
Strictly on the poles. If only it was coming soon,
Welcome to Celebrity Strictly Pole Dancing.
You're top on the bill now.
But people will say, yeah, she's done it before. I heard her on a podcast. She said she's done it before.
Doing some practicing. You are the head judge, maybe. That's it.
Oh, yeah, I'd like that.
Right, should we get into our first voice note then?
Let's do it.
Dear Jill, my dilemma is my husband snores. But when I say snores, I mean he really, really snores. House-shakingly snores. I don't know what to do next. We've tried everything. The only option I can think of is getting him to sleep in the car. Please help.
Oh, what name? What?
Carrie.
Carrie. Okay. I come from a family of snorers and I think I'm one of them. Okay, so I need to fess up about that first of all. My name is Jill and I am a snorer. The thing is, when your sleep is being interrupted by a snorer, I think it can really affect so many other areas of your life. I mean, one of them being that you start to dislike the person you're sleeping with because you're just constantly knackered. So, you said that there wasn't any other options. But I'm just going to put this out there. If there was a spare room in the house, I would fully consider sleeping separately. In fact, I don't think there's anything wrong. Like you hear couples who will say they sleep in separate bedrooms. One of them runs hot, one of them runs cold. They one of them tosses and turns, the other one gets woken up by them, whatever. I think that it's really healthy to sleep separately if you're interrupting each other's sleep. So if there is a spare bedroom, just say, honey. No, don't say honey, that's patronizing. Just say, do you know what? I think it would be really, really good and better for our relationship if we slept separately. And these are the reasons why. You'll know why by this point. I'm sure you've tried everything. If that isn't an option and there isn't a spare room in your house, then I would seriously think about I don't know, having a sofa bed in the front room. I'm serious about this because I know what it's like to be a snorer because you wake yourself up. But I have been with partners who are also snorers and it's hard. It's hard. And I think, not to get too sort of down on the snorers here, but sleep health is really serious and it affects all sorts of things. You start getting injured, your immune system goes down. So first of all, spare room. Secondly, invest in a sofa bed somewhere. But I don't think you should ever feel bad. This is the thing. When people have partners who snore, I feel sorry for them. They can't help it. But of course they can't help it. It's not their fault. I'm certainly not blaming them. But you can't help the fact that you need to have sleep. So separate. Not separate. Separate yourself when you sleep.
I'm so glad you saved
I
that.
I thought, oh my God, yeah, no, don't do that. Yeah, I don't want to be responsible for somebody breaking up.
No.
But have you had this before, though? Have you been with anyone that snores?
Absolutely. At Christmas time, I am forced to sleep next to my mum because we don't have enough beds in the house. And she doesn't snore, she just breathes heavy. Like,
It is.
yeah. Noises that shouldn't be humanly possible come out of her when I sleep. So I'm there moving the bed, doing that thing. That sort of thing. So I can relate. But I am not a snorer. I am silent as a mouse. Definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you still as well?
Yeah, like this.
So I said to my boyfriend recently, I said, I know I snore. I know I've been told I snore. What do I sound like? I said, I won't be offended. Just tell me. And he said, you sort of like do this like, ooh, like more like that. And I was like, I think you're being kind. I think I just fully.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's more like a. And I was like, nah, I think we're just in the first flushes of our relationship and you're making it out. In a couple of years' time, you'd be like, oh, you sound like a wild pig.
When you're pumping and everything.
Exactly.
Question straight back at you, though. What if your partner went, yeah, do you mind you going on the sofa instead?
So I would honestly understand, because my partner, he doesn't snore, but he moves a lot in his sleep, and it does drive me mad sometimes. And then I hate waking up the next day having had a rubbish sleep, and then you're sort of a bit grumpy. And I just think you can have half an hour or an hour in bed before you go to sleep. And then you can say, good night, darling, good night. And you can just wander off and have a really nice, restful sleep. And then you come together again in the morning. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think we've got this thing in our heads that we have to sleep together in the same bed. Otherwise, your relationship is not a proper relationship. But I would argue that if you're both having terrible sleeps every night, that's going to affect your relationship even more. Don't you think?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you're a snorer, it's okay. Snorers are allowed.
Yeah. And also, like, I know you can get those like noise cancelling like earbuds and stuff, but she's tried them, hasn't
Bring in
she?
the big guns.
She's passed all that, yeah.
She's sleeping in the car at this rate. Bless her.
The car's a bit much, yeah. Here we got next.
Hi Jill, it's Aaron here. I'm looking for some advice on parenting. So I haven't seen my daughter for over a year now, and she'll be 2 in January. I'm seeing her very soon. I'm hoping to get some advice from you, really, because I've got doubts and fears of not being a good enough father. And I was wondering what advice you would have to sort of combat those doubts and fears, so I can focus on being the best possible father for my little girl. Hopefully address this on your podcast. I'd be very grateful. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being so honest and calling in. It's really, I think when it sounds to me like you're obviously not with the mother of your child. If I've got that right, I hope I've got that right. But I remember when I divorced from my partner and my child was like 1 year old. And it's a strange thing, isn't it? When you have children, and especially when you're with the partner that you've had that child with, it's like a given. You live in the same household, and it's a given that you're bringing them up, you're their parents, and this relationship will just flourish because they're your child. And I think it's only when you are not with your child all the time, or you're separated, that you think, and rightly so, by the way, but you start to think, oh wow, like these are just relationships like any other relationship, and they really need to be worked on, and they need to be thought about, and they need to have a lot of effort and care and attention put into them. So I very much hear your fear and your vulnerability about the fact that there's been a bit of a gap since you last seen your daughter, and I think that is probably going to make you feel really scared, and you're probably going to be thinking, will she like me, and will we have things to talk about? But in all honesty, the only thing you can do is just be you. Just be yourself. I mean, you are her dad. And however that goes, that first time goes, it's important that you're just you and you let her just be her. And even if there's a little bit of awkwardness or a bit of silence sometimes, that's okay too, because if you were living with your daughter, that would be how you would be operating in the house. You're not constantly, chatting to each other and communicating. It's just, there's a huge amount of pressure when you're a parent who doesn't always live with their child. And my divorce, I would say was, as far as divorces can go, it was pretty good in the sense that our communication was good and we made sure that our son was being looked after. But I tell you, I do remember sometimes like the sort of nerves sometimes of like, is my son like having a nice time with me, or have I got enough like plan to do with him that week? And I remember as time went on, I just thought to myself, I just have to be me. Like, I'm his mum, and that's all he wants from me. And all I want from him is just to do whatever he wants to do. It doesn't have to be this like fun packed week that we've got organised. So I wish you all the luck in the world for that. But just be yourself. Just be yourself, and the love that you have for each other, I think, will just naturally come through. Who we got next?
Dear Jill, my dilemma is I have really intrusive thoughts surrounding death and worrying about something happening to my loved ones, in particular my husband, and how I wouldn't be able to cope if anything happened to him. Just looking for a bit of guidance regarding that, please.
Oh, Kel, I can relate to this one actually a lot. I also struggled a few years ago with some very intrusive thoughts about something bad happening to my son. And I know where you're coming from, because they're not rational. They're not necessarily based in any truth. It's not even that something has to happen to make you have those thoughts. You just start to go down a road of what if, and then for me anyway, the thoughts would pick up pace and pick up sort of severity, and I would start to really, I could make myself really upset at the thought of something bad happening. Now for me, and this might not be an option for you, but I'm going to put it out there first, I actually had a therapy called EMDR, where the therapist takes you into those thoughts that you're having, and we talk about those thoughts, and we sort of repeat those thoughts over and over and over and over, and at the same time that you're talking about these thoughts, you're watching like a light go left to right. Now the idea of EMDR is after a while you desensitize yourself to these thoughts, so you're having them and your body is absolutely experiencing it. Oh my god, this is terrible, what if this happens? And then after a while you work through the therapy, and after a while you have the thought, but your body doesn't think it's happening. Now that really worked for me, and I could not recommend that more. But if therapy isn't available to you, and it's not for everyone, I totally accept it's a luxury. What I would say is, when those thoughts come in, one of the questions or one of the things you could say to yourself the minute they come in is go, this is a thought, it's not actually happening. And that might sound like really ridiculously simple, but sometimes you have to say that so that your body calms down. You can tell your body, I'm having the thought, but it's not actually happening. I'm having the thought, but this is not real. I'm having the thought, but it's not the truth. And you just keep telling yourself that, and it brings your heart rate down. And again, like something really simple, like just breathing. Just breathe 3 times in and out and just concentrate on your breath. And then if the thought comes in again, just do it again. And it's about self-regulation. And it is just it's an anxiety, and it might be linked to a past trauma that you have. And like I say, if you could go and find that out and do a bit more exploration, if you can do that, that would be great. But if not, just keep saying to yourself, I am not my thoughts. We have so many thoughts through the day. You know, people often talk about those impulsive thoughts where you're standing on like a tube platform and you just think, what would happen if I just jumped in front? That's so common. But a lot of us don't talk about what goes on inside our heads, so we think we're weird. So I think one of the things to do is to destigmatize that for yourself and be like, you know what? This is probably more common than you think. People worrying about terrible things happening to their loved ones. And then you go into the sort of fantasy of, I couldn't cope and I would break down and my life would be terrible. But you just have to keep coming back to the thought of, it's not happening now. It's not happening. It's just a thought. And the whole, you know, I don't know if you've heard of Eckhart Tolle, but he writes a book called The Power of Now. And it's all about being present. It's all about being in the present. And that's a really helpful book if you can get your hands on that, because that's what he would say. He would say, you would have the thought and he would say to you, is it happening now? And you'd go, no. And he'd go, and then there's nothing to worry about. It sounds ridiculously simple, but the way that you have almost trained yourself to have those spiraling thoughts, you can actually untrain yourself back into a more rational way of thinking. But I really sympathize with you. Like I say, I've been through it myself. So good luck with that.
Cool. Let's go to our next one is Neil.
Dear Jill, recently moved back to the UK after a long time. Just turned 50, long career to date, and I'm not sure what to do with the fact that all of my American experience is apparently irrelevant to anybody, and I am not able to get interviews with anyone at entry-level jobs, nor am I able to get mid-level jobs, nor am I able to get the jobs at the level I'm used to working at. Too young to be put on the shelf, but not quite sure where to go.
Neil, okay, this is really tricky because I don't know what area that you work in. So this is really, really hard. I'm trying to imagine what experience someone could have in a country like America that isn't relevant to us. It seems like all those skills you would learn there would be transferable, but from your voice note, I'm sort of getting the impression they're not. So on a totally practical level, I would have to go to, what are they called, Emma? There was people that get people interviews. I was just talking about them this morning. Recruitment officer agency. That's where I would have to find the best one in my region, and I'd have to tell them exactly what my experiences was and what all of my qualifications were, and then would have to have a really honest chat and say, these skills have to be transferable in some way, if not in a completely literal way. They have to be able to be transferable. Like I said, I can't imagine that there's something that you've done for that long that you couldn't put into practice here. And obviously they're going to be, you know, sort of like professionals in their field, and they're going to be able to give you that advice. And then because I don't know what your occupation is, if you got to the point where they were like, they're not really, but it's just not in demand here, I don't really know what to say, then I would say, well, you know what? It's never too late to sort of just change tact, just like move in a different direction, turn a corner, just do something different. I think that as well, we do get stuck in a little bit of a rut in our lives to think that we do one thing and that's the only thing we do, and we just do it for the rest of our lives until we retire. Who's to say you can't have 5 different careers if you want? There's no rule about that. And in fact, some of the most interesting people that you listen to tend to have had lots of different strands of their life, lots of different chapters. So if you can't transfer those skills and you speak to a recruitment officer and they're saying, you know, I can't see a way out here, think, you know, have more faith in yourself and think to yourself, yeah, I'm going to go back, I'm going to study, or I'm just going to go into a brand new occupation and I'm going to shine. You know, my partner, you know, when he's employing people, and I'm sure there's loads of people that think like this, he's like, you know, for me, it's never really about where someone studied or what qualification they have. He said, obviously, I'll have a look at their CV and see what they've done or where they've been. He said, but it's really how somebody interviews. It's what they bring into the room. It's how they communicate with me. He said, that's really the most important thing for me. So I know what you said in your voice note was it's hard enough to just get an interview, but somebody will at some point give you a chance. And if it means that you have to write like a covering letter to go in with your CV and just sort of say, this is kind of where I'm at and this is my experience, but I'm trying something new. I'm trying something different. I'd absolutely love to just be given a chance. Just let me sit opposite you and let me show you what I've got. I think that there's loads of people out there that would give that person a chance. But let us know anyway, because I want to know how you get on.
What about that fact of, he's 50. He says, I'm too old to be put on the shelf. And you say, like, obviously, you wouldn't look at the qualifications or where somebody studied or whatever. You look at life experience. But you could also think, like, oh, there'll be somebody younger that's better than me. But that's not the case. Yeah,
and I think that the age thing always comes into play. I think that people start to get really paranoid when they hit the big 50. You think, oh, I'm on the last, let's say 15 to 20 years of your career. But this, the way that I've always seen it, I know I'm not in business, but I'm like, if I was an employer and I was interviewing a 50-year-old usually has kids who are pretty much adults now. They're either settled in their marriage or they're in a relationship or whatever. They're at a golden time in their life where they're going to give you so much of themselves. They are not in the 25, 35 to 45 period where you've got kids, they're growing up, they're going to school. They've got so much going on. I would say that somebody that hits that mark is ready for like their last chance, if that makes sense. Like, come on, let's have it. You hear about lots of women especially that start businesses when they're around about this age. And I think that's what it is. I think you just kind of go, I think this is going to be like one of the last chapters of my working life. And I'm just going to give it everything I've got.
And having that experience as well, Neil, can only add to it.
Absolutely. You've got 50 years worth of life experience. And you've lived in a different country. And obviously it sounds like you've been successful there. So I would say that you'd be pretty attractive to a lot of people. Good luck. All right, shall we jump into one of our callers now? Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, Jill. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? And what can we do for you today?
Well, my dilemma, Jill, is I'm in a new relationship and basically I'm very regimented in my life. I like order and I like to have a plan and I like to write things in a diary. But he's very spontaneous and just likes to do things on the whim. So I don't really know what to do, to be honest.
Okay, so I am your new partner in this scenario and you are my boyfriend because that's our dynamic. He loves a structure. He likes to know what he's doing. It makes him feel like safe and it makes him feel secure that things are diarized. Whereas I'm a bit more, well, I don't know what I'll be doing tomorrow and I'm not sure. And I can really understand that can be annoying. And even though I don't want to sound like I'm being on the fence with this, but honestly, I think the only way to go forward with this is to meet in the middle. You've got to sort of, be a bit more loosey-goosey. Let yourself go and think, I don't know what we're going to do on Saturday. Let's just see where the day takes us. But at the same time, he has to understand that for you, you like having things to look forward to. You like seeing it in your diary. You like knowing what you're doing and maybe thinking about what you're going to wear or, things like that. So I honestly think you just need to have a really, really direct and honest chat with him and meet somewhere in the middle. Because that's what me and my boyfriend have done. We sort of joke about it to each other, but I do get his point of view. I really, really understand. And he works in a more corporate world than me. So he kind of knows where he's going to be at what time and what time he'll finish work. Whereas my work is a little bit sort of more Roman and I really don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. And I think because of that, I've become a bit more like that with my social life as well. So
Yeah,
have
I'm
a
the same.
chat.
I'm the same.
Yeah, have a chat and be honest and just say, can we do a bit of both? Can we have like a day where we really don't know what's going to happen, but also can we have a day where I know where we're going and what we're doing? Because that sort of would satisfy me.
That sounds good. That sounds very good.
And will you call back and let us know how that goes? Because I am genuinely interested, because this is my dynamic as well. So do let me know.
Is it? Oh, that's very interesting. I mean, I'm a self-employed singer-songwriter, so generally my life's all over the place. That's why I struggle.
So you want to know?
Spontaneous.
I get it. Yeah, I get it completely. You're like, yeah, my work life's all over the place. So I need to know, yes, I want structure in other parts. I totally understand that. And I think that's I think that's what's really fun about being in a relationship. Like, people really hold a mirror up to who you are and the way you do things. And I think that's what, falling in love's about. Like, well, what can I learn from you? What kind of things can I take on? What kind of characteristics have you got that I really like? And I think it's all about that sort of honesty and communication, and definitely compromise.
Yes, I agree with that. Totally agree.
Oh, well, thank you for calling in. It's lovely to hear you.
Oh, it's lovely to speak to you too, Jill. Thank you very much for helping.
Thank you. I think like one of the themes running through today's episode might have been, when you sort of like boil it all down, is just like fear of something happening, fear of somebody not liking you, fear of the future. And like, fear it's such a powerful emotion. It overrides and it really robs you of joy, like fear and worry. So if I could say anything to anyone that's listening today, and certainly to our callers and our voice notes, just think about this. As Byron Katie always says this: who would you be without that fear? What kind of person would you be if you could like remove the fear from your life? And when you think about it, certainly when I think about it, I think, I'd be amazing. I would just do whatever I want to do, and I wouldn't be scared that I'd be rejected and that people wouldn't like me. And I suddenly feel like all powerful and all fizzy. And then the fear comes back in and I'm like back into my little shell again. So just try and like be aware when we're in fear, and just know that unless a big scary bear is chasing us, fear is often just, stuff that's going on in your head.
And therefore go do the tango pole.
Do the tango pole. If in doubt, tango pole. Do. Well, that's the end of episode 2 of Dear Jill. Thanks so much to everyone again for being brave and honest and just trying to be who they really are. I so appreciate it. Next week is our Christmas special, so I can't wait to hear all of your Xmas dilemmas, and I hope I can help. See you then. Bye. If you've got a dilemma or a problem, then please get in touch with us on the @DearJill podcast Instagram page. Leave us a voice note and you might be on the show. And if we did answer one of your dilemmas today, then please call us back, because we really want to know how you're going to get on. Thank you so much, guys, and see you next week.